Good evening, everyone. This is the 23rd node operator community call. We've got a relatively short agenda today for you. We've got the Valset updates with Sasha, of course. We have simple DVT and the decentralized validator vault with Will. We got the CSM mainnet release with Dima, and we have PERCH, the protocol evaluation and request coordination hub with Eugene, and they're all Lido contributors, so that's a special episode today. But let's start it off with Sasha. If you're good to go, take it away.
Yeah, give me 1 second to share my slides. I'll try to find them shortly. Okay. All right. Hey, folks, I hope you can see my slides, and welcome to my regular news section. So November was quite intense, I have to say, and let's see what it brought to the Lido protocol validator set. So first up, we have Venom report for Q3 that went live, covering the main changes in the Lido protocol validator set happened over Q3. The main highlights here are, for sure, a massive increase in number of node operators, thanks to simple DVT clusters onboarding. The client diversity improvements with GATH usage decreased, and the adoption of REST client among the node operators utilizing the Lido protocol. So this report definitely is worth checking out. Our next update is about the SafeStake pilot testnet that had been running on Haleski for like 2 months. With the main goal to assess the feasibility for running SafeStake distributed validators as a part of the Lido protocol. So the testnet had 17 participants, including solo stakers as well as professional node operators, and these 17 participants were split into 5 clusters with 4 operators in each. So here we can see the results. There are actual performance results on the right, and on the left we can see the minimum testnet performance characteristics or like requirements that was approved by the DAO as a part of the simple DVT module proposal like maybe a year ago, as far as I remember. So these metrics are needed to evaluate if the technology can be used in the Lido protocol and mainnet at the moment or not. So the testnet demonstrated high uptime, but during the testnet there was an issue with the incorrect MEV boost configuration that led to low block proposal success rate, as you can see over here. So even though this technology didn't end up moving to mainnet with the Lido protocol for now, it provided quite like valuable insights and pointed out to the required future improvements that are needed to move forward to exploring the feasibility of running SafeStake DVs as a part of the Lido protocol in the future. Okay, so we are moving to the next section where we have validators exit as NOP, which stands for Standard Node Operator Protocol. So in simple words, this is the standard that all node operators that utilize the Lido protocol must adhere to. It is not something new, even though it had different name before. It's just the updated version that went out on the research forum in November and now approaching the snapshot DAO vote. So in short, what's new here? Basically, the main necessity of updating the standard is quite simple. Now when the Lido protocol has 3 modules instead of just 1, the standard must cover like all the cases and all the peculiarities with regards to exits, because like some approaches of exit differ from one module to another. Apart from this main change, there were some touch-ups to the document structure and terminology. Some details were added around the module stake share, the operator's target share, and the validator exit order that was introduced in the staking router version 2. So the updated standard is definitely a must-read for all the node operators utilize the Lido protocol. All right, community grants. As you might remember, the community lifeguards ran the first round of community grants earlier this year, which resulted in bringing like tons of different resources about CSM, like ranging from the translation of the CSM documentation to different languages, to comprehensible video guides on setting up a CSM validator and so on. So that was really successful, and now the lifeguards decided to move further, and in November they opened the second wave of community grants, and this time the scope is focused on the tools that can make CSM experience even smoother than it is right now. So lifeguards are looking for the community tools such as like monitoring dashboards and CSM rewards calculator, the stuff that is missing from the interface right now, and any kind of other like instruments that will enhance the tooling around CSM. About deadlines, community members can apply for retrospective grants for their developments till mid-February. And yes, the last one, all the things that I've mentioned before were happening during the biggest Ethereum event of the year. It's DevCon in Bangkok. So on November 14th, Lido contributors hosted the yearly Lido Connect, which is an event where we had like a bunch of different activities like talks, panels, roundtables, and more. So for now, while the recordings of the talks from there are still being cooked, I can recommend you to just go and enjoy the cool pictures from the event that you can find on the QR code that you see on the screen right now. So thanks to everyone who joined us at Lido Connect this year, and we look forward to seeing you in 2025. That is it from me. I think that the main news are ahead because William and Dima are going to tell us about Simple DVT and CSM. So I'm leaving the stage and passing the mic to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha. I mean, you're taking up this role. Well, if you're good to go, you can just you can start whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Thanks. All right, so we're going to do the monthly updates around Simple DVT. And where I wanted to kick this off is really with basically doing like a year-end wrap-up, as this will be the last call for 2024. And just kind of setting the stage. If you remember, the Simple DVT module launched in February of this year. It was the first new module to be added to the protocol. And a year ago, there was only 37 curated node operators, 0 solo and community stakers. And so Simple DVT is still scaling, and there's still some expansion that's happening. But as of Q4, there's now 272 independent node operators within the module, and 140 of those are solo and community stakers. So I think like just in terms of highlights, like that number is something that gets me really excited. It gets like so many people in the community really excited, and a huge thank you to all the node operators that are involved. I think this is like tremendous progress, and the cool news is that it's not done yet. So we're going to talk more about SSV cohort 3 in a little bit, but we expect that there's going to be at least 60 net new independent node operators onboarded in that onboarding round. Also, right now, there's 5,414 active validators within the module. There's another 600 validators that are depositable. And if you sum those two numbers, so once we get those validators deposited to, that's actually 0.5% of all Ethereum validators will be live on Simple DVT. And before year end, we expect that there's going to be another 2,000 at least depositable. That really brings us to this base case. And this is what I would think of as the expectations that were outlined within the Simple DVT original module proposal, as well as the expansion proposal. And that's that at the end of Q1 2025, there will be 10,700 active validators within the module. And so that really includes the 5,000 validators that are going to be run as part of superclusters, with all of the 72 other normal clusters running 80 validator keys each. But if you take the full number of stake with 4% target share that Simple DVT currently has, it actually leads to a little bit over 12,000 validators. So I think it's very likely that within that 4%, that all of the normal cohort 1 to cohort 3 clusters likely get to somewhere around 100 keys, depending on the total share in Lido. And that number is quite volatile and flexible to an extent. So nothing's guaranteed, but I think probably for sure they will go higher than the 80 that is currently outlined. But through lots of conversations with the community, I think that there's clearly like a lot of feedback that there is appetite to consider raising the capacity to somewhere around 5%. And so this is something that still needs to be discussed. It wouldn't happen immediately, and definitely a few months away at the very earliest. But In that scenario, you could imagine that cohort 1 to cohort 3 clusters would go up to something between 120 to 140 validators, again, depending on the total share of stake within Lido. If you look at it off today's numbers, it's closer to the higher end of that range. But even the lower end would be a 50% increase from what the expectations are right now. This is very much contingent on validator performance, at least one round of advanced node operator onboardings, as well as a DAO vote and DAO discussion, which is like very, very important to this and wouldn't happen without that. In terms of the advanced node operators, this is because for any cluster to run more than 100 validator keys, at least half of the cluster participants must be advanced node operators. To date, there was one advanced node operator onboarding round that took place when the super clusters were onboarded. My expectation would be that sometime in Q1 2025, there will be at least one more. So more information to come here, but I think all in all, this is really, really cool and exciting progress for your simple DBT. Now we'll get into kind of like the current status for both OBOL and SSV. So on the OBOL side, the 12 cohort 1 clusters are still holding steady, running 80 validators each. The last performance report has been posted and things look really, really, really solid there. The 5 super clusters currently have 500 keys of available total depositable validators, and they're now running 370 validators each. So still just waiting for a little less than 130 validators of deposits for each of those clusters at this point. But things look really good there. Performance looks very, very solid. There was a performance report posted about 3 weeks ago, and all the metrics were above network average. Cohort 2 has an easy track that's expected to go live later this week. And so that'll do a couple things. It will raise key limits for 12 of the cohort 2 clusters to 80 validators. It will increase the key limits for Vivacious Viper, which is a cluster that had an exit and a participant replacement, so it's a bit behind, to 40 validators. And then Whistling Wolf will stay at 60 validators, and that's because of a lower block proposal success rate. The OBOL team is currently troubleshooting with the members of that cluster. And so hopefully in the next few weeks, by the time the next performance report comes around, things have improved there where they will also be set to go up to 80 validators from 60. Cohort 3 is also onboarding within OBOL. This follows the last testnet that completed about a month and a half ago at this point. So the node operator registries are now live in the simple DBT node operator registry contracts. That took place on Sunday after the easy track was executed. Of these 10 clusters, most of them are now finished with their DKGs. They're going through the final setup confirmation process, basically making sure that they've all verified that their manager addresses, their individual reward addresses are correct, making sure that all the cluster peers are connected and that they're running like a diverse set of infrastructure to minimize any potential downtime. And if all that checks out by the end of this week, we'd expect to see their key limits increased to the initial 5 validators next week. On the SSV side, so the SSV Allen fork passed, and it was quite successful from an aggregate perspective of Lido and SSV itself. There's no clusters that experienced downtime, but there are a couple of minor bugs that were identified after these 45,000 validators running on SSV were all live on Mainnet. So SSV has a patch out for that. It's v2.01. That is currently being tested in Lido testnet clusters with other simple DBT node operators on Haleski. And once that is rolled out and tested, we'd expect to start rolling it out probably towards the end of this week and then next week to a larger swath of clusters. This fix is going to do 2 things. One, there's an issue with block proposals in the first slot for some validators through SSV, and as well as when validators are initially activated and registered to SSV, sometimes they can miss the first attestation. So in the grand scheme of things, not major issues, and they were quickly identified and should be fixed with this v2.01, but it's being tested on Haleski, and an update will be made in the simple DBT module proposal thread. Assuming that everything looks good there in the next week or so, cohort 1 is now running 60 validators each. It's expected to be increased to 80 validators next week. Cohort 2 successfully passed their first monitoring period. And so they're currently in the process of registering and submitting keys to SSV Network and the Lido registry, and expected to also have their limits increased next week. So the last performance report showed 99.91% uptime, 96.54% validator effectiveness, 98%, excluding the Quiet Quetzal cluster, which I'll talk about, and a 93% block proposal success rate. So Quiet Quetzal is performing below expectations, and so their key limit will not be increased past 20 validators until that's resolved. Similar to the case I mentioned with Obol, the SSV team is doing a great job here troubleshooting with the participants in this cluster. And so hopefully they get that sorted by the next performance monitoring period. And again, they'll be able to catch up with the others in that cohort. The 5 superclusters had their performance report posted last week. They had 99.96% uptime, a 97.9% validator effectiveness rating, and a 95.65% block proposal success rate. So they are also going through this process of getting keys registered to SSV, submitted to the Lido contracts. And once that's all wrapped up in the next probably 10 days or so, we'd expect an easy track for these clusters to also have their capacity raised. And so what I mentioned before, that there's 2,000 validator keys expected to be depositable before year end, it's really coming from all of these SSV clusters that are going to have their capacities expanded in a big way. Sticking on SSV, so the testnet just wrapped up. This is testnet number 4. Validators within this testnet are in the process of being exited, then deregistered from SSV network, and all of the participants are testing the reward claim flow. So very, very exciting news, but no surprise now considering how many of these we've done. But the testnet passed all of the minimum required benchmarks with uptime of 97%, a block proposal success rate of almost 93%, and an attestation effectiveness rating of 80%. You can compare these to all of the benchmarks that are the minimums on the left-hand side, and special attention to the attestation effectiveness rating, because that had huge outperformance versus the broader network. So for those of you folks listening that may be participants in the SSV testnet that just wrapped up, what are the next steps? So the Lido node operator subgovernance group is a subgroup of the DAO that's responsible for assisting the DAO with node operator onboarding, whether it's in the simple DVT or curated modules. There's going to be an assessment that is done based off of the quantitative metrics of each node operator's SSV operator performance. They'll also consider qualitative factors from the coordinators, basically in terms of node operator responsiveness throughout the process. And they will then make a proposal to the DAO with a suggested list of clusters to be onboarded to mainnet in cohort 3. So the idea is that this suggested shortlist should go to the DAO before the end of this year. There will then be a week discussion period where if there are no requested changes, that list of clusters, of which there are 15, will be finalized. Onboarding will likely take place in sort of mid-January after the holidays are wrapped up, and then hopefully get active on mainnet by like early February. In total, there is 15 clusters within SSV that will be onboarded in cohort 3. As one of those spots goes to a curated node operator, that leaves 90 total open spots for testnet participants. Based off of the number I talked about in that first slide, where we expect at least 60 of them to be net new, I think that I think that 60 is a pretty good like expectation at this point. We will look at the numbers, and the LNSG will consider other operators that may be on Obol mainnet that are really, really good, that could take some of those 30 spots. But you know, there even could be upside to that 60 net new number. All right, finally on the Melo distributed validator vault. So as a reminder, this is a vault that was developed by Melo that's driving faster adoption of DVT-based validators, both in the simple DVT and community staking modules. And it provides users of the vault with wrap stake ETH APR, with Obol, SSV, and Melo points. So the vault is currently at 9,249 wrapped ETH, and that compares to a bit over 7,000 on the prior call. So some really nice growth and progress there. That has so far facilitated almost 290 validators worth of stake to both simple DVT and CSM. And just last week, right at the beginning, the capacity was increased to 13,861 ETH. So all of these Obol validators that have activated and are in the process of activating or being deposited to based on the superclusters and cohort 1 and cohort 2 are really providing a nice boost to the Obol point multiplier. It's currently 11 times, and it's actually on track to be 14 times when the remaining Obol validators are deposited too. This boost is just basically a factor of the amount of ETH within the vault versus the amount of ETH in Obol validators within the simple DVT module. So because there are more validators within the simple DVT module running Obol, and the amount of ETH within the vault represented by those is much less, you're getting an effective 11x boost on the amount of Obol points or contributions that you could get. So definitely like really, really cool to check out from the user perspective. And this is doing great things for the protocol in terms of providing more solo and community stakers the ability to run validators faster. So we'll keep you posted, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Will. It's amazing, 11 and 14 times. All that alpha, and we still haven't started with Dima yet, who's going to talk about the most awesome CSM, if he's ready to start, sir.
I am ready for sure. So let's get started. As usually, we have a regular CSM update. And the main update for this call, because we haven't talked with you for a while, is that CSM is live on Mainnet. But you've probably already heard of that. So let's take a look at the stats on the Mainnet so far. Sorry for that. Perfect. So what do we have now? We have around 250 node operators within CSM active on Mainnet, which is amazing. And what is even more amazing is that they are operating 1.7K validators. Real validators on a mainnet operated by community stakers within Lido protocol. The thing that no one could even imagine at the beginning of the year, even before Simple DVT. But right now, together, Simple DVT and CSM had pushed decentralization of Lido protocol to a brand new level. And it's only been 1.5 months since the module launch, because the actual launch of the module happened at October 25, year 2024. So we are just getting started. The great thing about this 1.7K validators is that they are secured and protected by 2,400 staked ETH worth of bond, which means that even in the worst case scenario, even in the terrible case of slashing, which I believe would never happen, but still, these validators are well protected by the node operator bond, meaning that these validators are probably the safest validators for the STETH holders from the protocol perspective. And all these validators had already proposed more than 300 blocks on the mainnet. And the best bit, and the thing that I like the most, is rewards. So within the first distribution period, as you know, there are two types of rewards: boundary base, which happens daily, and node operator rewards. So 4.3 STE were evenly distributed between well-performing node operators within the first round. And the model is getting bigger and bigger, meaning that in the next round, we will definitely see more of these rewards being distributed to node operators. And this is absolutely amazing, especially given the fact that CSM is still in the early adoption mode, meaning that only identified solo and community stakers can join CSM right now. But this thing is about to change soon. What we have now is the proposal that is currently on the research forum to make two changes to CSM. The first and the foremost is to make it fully permissionless, meaning that each and everyone in whole Ethereum ecosystem would soon be able to join CSM permissionlessly. The only two requirements are to be able to run nodes, which is pretty obvious if you want to be a validator. And the second one is to provide sufficient bond. The second change within the same proposal is to increase stake share or stake share limit for CSM from the initial 1% to 2%, which means that CSM would not only become permissionless, but there would be additional space for all of the permissionless participants to join CSM immediately. So, should the proposal pass and should it be supported by LDO holders and by Lido community, we will see all these changes becoming reality in January 2025. Do not hesitate to scan the QR code on the screen to read through the proposal, through the text of the proposal that I have posted on the research forum, to voice your opinion. And if you believe that this is a good pathway and this should happen, make sure to voice your support. If you are against the proposal, again, voice your disagreement. This is how decentralized governance actually works. But that's not it about CSM. Well, CSM is live on mainnet, perfect. CSM have a high chances of soon becoming permissionless with the increased stake share. But what's next? What would we see about CSM in future? Well, CSM, as any other product, is evolving. And CSM is now evolving to CSM v2, which is currently under heavy development. And let's just quickly walk through the most important features of CSM v2. The first one is lower bond requirements thanks to PERCH update and reduced initial slashing penalty within this upgrade. The chances are very high that CSM would be able to offer even lower per validator bond. And with that said, capital efficiency would definitely increase, meaning that your effective capital multiplier in CSM v2 will be even higher than the existing multiplier of 2.4, which is already crazy, but this number will most likely go even higher within CSM v2. The next big thing is it become a solo staker program. We all know that before CSM launch, there has been a round of testnet performance assessment and many other activations by Lido that were used to form the initial list of early adopters. But this list is unfortunately immutable at the moment, meaning that no extra participants can be added there. And this is reasonable for the initial module launch, but should the module evolve and should it gain more and more traction and support, this program should be extended. And that's why we are announcing a Become a Solo Staker program. You will definitely hear more about it in detail later on, so stay tuned. But the gist is that with CSM v2, if everyone, even if those who are not in the early adoption list right now, will be able to demonstrate that they are solo stakers and get qualified as or identified as solo stakers to get access to the benefits of the early adoption. Let me quickly remind you that right now it is the reduced bond for the first validator. But in CSM v2, there would definitely be some other very useful benefits specifically tailored for solos and home stakers to increase the number of independent node operators validating Ethereum. The next thing is improved performance Oracle. We all know that right now performance Oracle with the performance threshold has proven to be a great tool for solo stakers, allowing for a short performance outages and ensuring socialized rewards distribution, which makes it absolutely perfect in terms of capital efficiency for CSM operators. But within CSM v2, we definitely need to improve this algorithm to account for things like block proposals and sync committee participation. But I can assure you that all these additions would be done with the respect to the reality of solo stakers. So it would only be better and more precise for solo stakers without losing any better. And the last but not the least is the support of EIP 7002, which is execution layer triggerable exit. This addition is definitely required for both solo stakers and the protocol. And let me quickly explain why. From the solo staker perspective, the worst thing that can happen with your validator is the fact that you lose your machine and you lose your validator keys. And for some reason, you can also lose the seed phrase. This is a catastrophic scenario. And in this case, the only thing you can do is just sit and watch the balance of your validators slowly draining. But this is definitely not the thing you want to face, right? That's why with EIP 7002, CSM node operators would be able to use the emergency measure and request withdrawals for their validators to be triggered from CSM smart contracts, effectively saving them from this tragic situation. At the same time, EIP 7002 is also crucial for the protocol so that those who are participating in CSM, but doing it in a very bad way, very irresponsibly, not performing well for a very long time, would now be ejected from the protocol, but again, with the respect to performance threshold and stuff like that. So with these two benefits, this addition will allow for higher stake share of CSM and will definitely give the additional emergency measure for home stakers who for some reason lost their keys. And you will see it all in summer 2025 because the team is already working on this upgrade. And as you know, any blockchain development is not an easy thing and a lot of things should be done. But we are already working on this upgrade. So you will definitely hear more about that in the upcoming year. But summer is summer, and we are now currently in winter. And you know what's the best thing about winter? It's definitely Christmas. So some say that Santa has a beautiful dApp node that he's willing to give to one of the Lido community participants as a Christmas gift. To learn more about it and to get your chance to win this dApp node within the Christmas competition or maybe even a raffle. I have no idea about the details right now, but please, please, please stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and join our Discord to get the recent updates and get your chance to win your Christmas gift of a Lido dApp node. And with that said, in Eve we trust, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Dima. That was great. Makes me feel all Christmassy inside. We're gonna have a short break. Just a limited amount available, so be quick. The Protocol Evaluation and Request Coordination Hub. Eugene, are you ready?
Yes, yes.
All right, take it away.
Mhm. So hi, good evening everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So we're here to explore how the Protocol Evaluation and Request Coordination Hub, or PERCH, is shaping the collaborative testing. And in today's session, we'll start with an overview of PERCH and what it brings to the table. Then we'll dive a little bit into the expectations for participants, discussing how can PERCH specifically supports precons protocols, and walk through how you can get involved. So the proposal is addressed at projects and protocols that provide functions like relays, credible commitments, and who are seeking operators running validators on Lido on Ethereum to test or utilize these functions. It also addressed at node operators running validators on Lido on Ethereum who wish to express their interest in participating in collaborative testing on test networks. So the objective is to conduct tests that could potentially enhance the resilience and performance on Ethereum, provided these tests do not disrupt the proper functioning of Lido protocol. So what expectations does PERCH set for applicants and node operators? For applicants, like projects and protocols, all you need is specify the ideal number of operators or validators required, provide the necessary details. You may also attach a form for node operators to express interest if relevant, and give testing outline, software and or protocols to be used, networks on which the test will be conducted, like Haleski or others, duration of the testing period, and expected impact of the network as a result of these tests. And you need to ensure compliance with the requirements, and a bit more detail about this in the following slides. So what does it mean, compliance with requirements? Any project or protocol undergoing a test net with node operators should at minimum meet the following requirements: alignment with the Ethereum roadmap,
The proposed technology should complement and advance Ethereum's long-term goals, particularly in areas such as scaling, censorship resistance, or decentralization. Solutions should have a clear path to potentially becoming native to the protocol and aligning with Ethereum's future upgrades and developments. Neutrality and inclusivity. The technology should enhance the user experience and robustness of the Ethereum network without introducing favoritism or reliance on specific service providers. For instance, it should not require the Lido protocol for a specific set of reliers or builders. Adherence to community standards. The technology should be in the line with broader Ethereum community efforts, aiming for interoperability and alignment with other proposals. For example, credible commitments and relays should respect ongoing discussions on standardization and security. Security best practices. All technologies and protocols must adhere to the highest standards of smart contract security. This includes regular code reviews, third-party audits, and formal verification where it is applicable. Developers should ensure that all known vulnerabilities are addressed prior to deployment in any testnet environment. Complementary use cases. Proposed technologies should add value to existing use cases and not inhibit the growth of adoption of other innovations. For instance, the pre-confirmation use case does not crowd out the inclusion list use case. So, expectations for node operators. Network information. Specify the network where the test will be conducted, details the subset of your validators participating in the test, duration of the testing period, and post-testing assessment. Provide a brief report on the result of the test and engage the community in follow-up discussion based on the outcomes. So, how can PERCH help preconf protocols? First of all, it is facilitating collaboration. The PERCH framework can help multiple protocols, including those working on preconfs, by establishing a structured process for collaboration between protocol developers and node operators. And this collaboration ensures that new technologies are tested in an environment that is representative on the Ethereum ecosystem. And what else is important? PERCH fosters innovation and collaboration by aligning new technologies like precons with Ethereum goals. It simplifies testing with clear process, ensuring effective evaluations without disrupting Ethereum's or Lido's functionality. And by enforcing high security standards and supporting complementary use cases, PERCH enhance economic and technical resilience, building trust and encouraging diverse solutions within the Ethereum ecosystem. So, for applicants, project and protocols, how to participate, how to take part. If you're interested in participating, please create a new thread in the Lido Research Forum under the Department of Decentralization tag. And like to remind you that your post should follow the outline format, including details such as number of participants, testing outline, and expected network impact. This will provide visibility for node operators and allow them to review and express interest in collaborating on your proposal. For node operators, after reviewing an applicant's post, please respond directly in the relevant thread, indicating your interest and any details about your subset of your validators participating in the testing. Once the testing phase is complete, please share a post-test assessment in the same thread, including outcomes, insights, and any follow-up actions as outlined in the expectations before. So, an important note for applicants, please don't forget to use the Department of Decentralization tag and include the PERCH acronym in the post title as a prefix. And when publishing your post, make sure to format it as a link to the post about PERCH. For it, you just need to mention the original PERCH post in the text. So, a big QR code is the original PERCH on research forum post. And here's a bit examples how different protocols are now engaging it. So thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. So just a question. So for example, Bolt and Commit Boost, they posted their PERCH proposal,
Yeah, and
and
now
it's up to node operators to reply to that and say they are interested in running it on testnet, I assume.
yes.
Okay, that's great. That's awesome. So the call is to protocols, but especially to node operators who I'm guessing the protocols need to run these tests, right?
Yeah, it's just a like platform. Just if you want, you can take part. If you don't, so nobody is going to like force you.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Thanks a lot, Eugene. And I think with that, we've come to the end of this community call. I think it's one of the shortest we've had. I want to thank everyone, our speakers, of course, our live audience, the viewers at home, and please stay tuned for the next community call, which is currently scheduled to be on January 14th. So that's not the first week of January, but the second week. So I hope to see you all next year, and have a great month, everyone.